There are people who are born different and they know it, not out of pride or ego, but because from childhood they feel they don't fully belong to this world. They carry physical marks on their bodies, hidden signs left by God as divine codes to identify His chosen ones. Marks not everyone can see, but that change everything. Today, I will reveal what they are, and I warn you, if you recognize more than one of them in yourself, your life will never be the same again. Stay until the end, because the last mark is the rarest, but also the most powerful. In the physical world, we often ignore that the body also speaks, not with words, but with signs, signals, and marks we don't always understand. Some people are born with or develop marks on their skin, in their gaze, or in their energy. Behind each of these marks lies a greater purpose. When God chooses a soul for a special mission, it is not by chance. He does not leave it to the wind. He marks it, He guides it, and in some cases, He seals it. Today, I will reveal the most common physical signs God uses to seal His chosen ones. Some of these marks are visible to the naked eye, others are felt with the soul, and others manifest when you are about to awaken. Stay until the end of this message, because the final mark is the most powerful and at the same time, the most misunderstood. It is the one that transforms the most, but also hurts the most. And if you recognize it in yourself, your path may just be beginning. If this topic inspires you and you believe others should hear it, subscribe, like, and share your experience in the comments. Your support transforms lives. And remember, when you share light, light multiplies. The intense gaze. They say the eyes are the windows to the soul. But for the chosen ones, those eyes are not just windows. They are portals. Portals that connect this world with higher dimensions. There's something in their gaze that is impossible to fake. It's a mix of calm and sacred fire, a depth that cannot be described in words, but is felt like a whisper of the soul that awakens something dormant in the one who observes. The chosen ones do not look like everyone else. Their eyes do not simply see, they perceive. They go beyond the surface, revealing emotions, intentions, energies, often without even trying. Their mere gaze can make others feel exposed, uncomfortable, or even intimidated. But it can also calm, heal, and console, because ancient wisdom lives in that gaze, as if within their pupils live memories of other lives, other worlds, a truth that cannot be hidden. Many chosen ones don't initially understand why people react so intensely to their presence. Some stare in fascination. Others quickly look away, as if feeling transparent before them. They don't know that what they feel is the effect of an awakened soul that sees with an open heart. That is why, from a young age, the chosen often hear things like, "You have a very deep look. Your eyes say so much," or even, "I feel like you read my soul." It is no coincidence. It is a gift, a seal, a sign that God has placed in them to remind them who they are. That gaze also acts like a magnet. It attracts souls ready to awaken and, without intending to, repels those not prepared to face their own truth. Because where there is light, darkness cannot hide. If you have felt this, if someone has ever told you that your eyes seem to see beyond, it is possible that you carry this mark with you. And believe me, it's not superficial. It is one of the clearest signs that you have been sealed for something greater. Because when God chooses, He makes it visible even through the gaze. Unexplained scars or birthmarks. There are imprints that the soul brings with it before birth. Silent marks that appear on the body without any remembered origin. Scars not from visible physical wounds or known accidents, but that have always been there. In the modern world, they may seem like simple anomalies. To medicine, they may be mere genetic curiosities. But to spiritual sages, they are much more than that. These physical marks, like moles in unusual places, birthmarks with strange shapes, or unexplained scars, have been interpreted by ancient cultures as sacred symbols. Some traditions believe they are energetic portals, access points between the physical and the spiritual. Others claim they are soul contract seals, signs of a mission chosen before incarnating. On the path of the chosen, these scars are not coincidences. They are reminders, anchors in the body that whisper from silence, "You are not here by chance." Though many have tried to hide them, deny them, or even remove them, sooner or later they understand that they are part of their calling. Some are born with geometric shapes on their skin, with figures resembling sacred symbols, crosses, spirals, triangles, marks that seem to have a life of their own. What's most surprising is that these signs often coincide with zones of strong energetic sensitivity or with chakras activated from an early age. Do you have a mark like that? A scar you don't remember getting? A mole in a special area of your body that feels more sensitive, more alive, more connected? Don't ignore it. Maybe it's not just a physical detail. Maybe it's an echo of your soul, a map God drew on you to help you remember the purpose you came to fulfill. Skin or energy sensitivity. There's something in the chosen that goes beyond the five senses. Their body becomes a finely tuned instrument for frequencies others do not perceive. In them, the skin doesn't just cover the body, it becomes a spiritual antenna, a sort of sacred radar that reacts to the energy of places, people, and thoughts. Have you ever walked into a room and without anyone saying a word, your skin tingled as if touched by something invisible? Have you felt sudden chills, a kind of electricity running through your body or tingling in areas without any medical explanation? That's not coincidence. It's energetic sensitivity, and it's one of the most subtle yet clearest marks God places in His chosen ones. This sensitivity isn't limited to contact with people. It also activates when stepping on sacred ground, touching spiritually charged objects, or being near someone who harbors pain, fear, or anger. The body of the chosen feels everything. It translates it into physical signals, as if the soul speaks through the skin. And yes, it can be unsettling. Sometimes it overwhelms. Sometimes it even scares. But over time, those marked with this sensitivity learn to listen to their body as a silent teacher. They learn to recognize when they're in a high vibration place and when they need to walk away from environments that drain their energy. Many chosen begin their awakening with this kind of sensation. At first, they blame the weather, fatigue, or even imagination. But when it repeats, when it happens during key moments, they realize something deeper is happening. Help us spread this message to more people. Subscribe, like, and tell us if you've ever felt these reactions in your body for no apparent reason. Maybe your soul has been speaking to you for a long time. You just needed to remember how to listen. Being near adults who, without being therapists, can heal with their hands, simply because their energy does everything for them. In some ancient traditions, this gift was known as the healer's touch and was considered a divine gift. But not all the chosen are aware that they have it. Some are surprised when others tell them, "Your hug changed my day," Or, I felt something very strong when you touched me. Or, being near you gives me peace. And although they hear it with humility, deep down they know it doesn't come from them, but through them. If you've noticed that your physical presence, your touch, or your hug brings relief, rest, or transformation to others, don't ignore it. You may be carrying the seventh mark, an invisible seal that makes your body a channel of light. Because the chosen do not only heal with words, they also do so with their energy, their touch, with the love that flows beyond the skin. There are words that are forgotten and voices that are never erased. What matters is not so much what is said, but how it is said. There are people whose voices are not just heard, they are felt. They vibrate inside the chest. They touch invisible fibers. They awaken dormant memories. Their tone can be soft or firm, slow or flowing, but what sets it apart is something deeper, the vibration it emits, an invisible energy that transforms. This is the eighth mark, the voice as a transformative frequency. God has sealed some chosen ones with a special gift in the way they speak. Even if they are not singers, speakers, or artists, their voice has a unique resonance, not because it is perfect, but because it is aligned with their soul. And when a soul awakens and expresses itself through the voice, it becomes a divine instrument. Sometimes, without realizing it, these people begin to speak, and everything around seems to quiet down. Conversations slow, hearts become more attentive. Their voice has the power to transmit calm, to inspire strength, to awaken consciousness. And those who listen do not always understand why, but they feel that something inside them is shifting. Many of the chosen have had similar experiences. People falling silent while they speak, looking at them with tears in their eyes without explanation, or confessing that they don't know what happened, but something changed after hearing them. This is not coincidence. It's vibration. It's frequency. It's a seal that cannot be seen, but can be heard by the soul. In ancient times, it was said that the voice was a bridge between heaven and earth, that those who used it with purity could heal, liberate, guide. And that power is still present today, only it has been forgotten. That's why when someone with this mark speaks from the heart, something sacred happens. They don't just transmit a message, they activate a memory in the other. If you've noticed that people listen to you with unusual attention, that your words calm, transform, or inspire, even when you're not trying. If you've ever felt that your voice is more than sound, that it carries light, fire, comfort, you may carry the eighth mark, a sign that your throat was made not just to speak, but to awaken sleeping souls. Because there are voices that come from the earth and others that resonate directly from heaven. No one wants to be sick. Pain, weariness, and uncertainty seem like punishments. But for some, for those who are chosen, illness does not come as a sentence, but as a silent teacher, a guide that pushes the soul to look where no one wants to look, inside. This is the ninth mark, illnesses as catalysts for spiritual awakening. Many chosen ones, since childhood, face rare ailments, confusing diagnoses, or symptoms that don't quite fit medical logic. Sometimes it's a chronic condition that stays with them for years. Sometimes it's a sudden illness that transforms their life completely. And although at the time they seem like cruel trials, with time they understand they weren't punishments. They were deep purification processes. These experiences force them to stop, to leave the world's noise behind, to dwell in silence. They teach them to listen to their body, to connect with their emotions, to heal wounds they didn't even know they carried. And in that process, something happens. The soul begins to awaken, because in the body's fragility, the strength of the spirit is revealed. Many who today illuminate others, healers, guides, spiritual teachers, began their path in a hospital bed, in the midst of pain, feeling alone, until they understood that the darkness was the threshold to their true light. Illness led them to discover hidden capacities, dormant intuitions, healing gifts they never would have explored had they not passed through that dark night of the soul. There are pains that open, that tear the old identity and allow the authentic to emerge. There are bodies that weaken only so the soul can grow strong. And there are paths that only begin when the body stops running and starts listening. If you have gone through an illness that transformed the way you see life, if you carry a condition that, although painful, made you wiser, more compassionate, more aware, it is very possible that you carry the ninth mark, a sacred trial that purifies the old to reveal the eternal, because some are chosen not for their strength, but for their ability to be reborn from their own pain. There are marks that are not seen, but are deeply felt. They don't leave scars on the skin or show up in medical exams, but they beat intensely inside the chest. Sometimes they manifest as a sudden heartbeat, as a pressure in the center of the heart. Other times, as a strange anxiety with no apparent reason, an emptiness that cannot be filled with anything external, a constant whisper that says, "You're not here just to survive, you came for something more." This is the 10th mark, the unseen wound in the heart. It's an invisible but deeply physical signal. Many chosen feel it from a young age, a kind of nostalgia for something they cannot name, a yearning to return to a place they don't remember, but know intimately in the soul. It's like carrying a broken compass inside, always pointing to the divine, even if the path isn't clear. This sacred wound is not weakness. It's sensitivity. It's connection. It's the echo of God's call vibrating in the body. And although it sometimes manifests as a crisis, deep sadness, or a constant sense of not fitting in the world, in reality, it's a disguised guide, a sign pushing the chosen one to seek their truth, to remember their purpose, to rise beyond the surface chaos. This wound is what awakens the sleeping soul. This void is what forces one to seek meaning, and it is precisely there in that inexplicable discomfort where transformation begins, because the chosen knows, without knowing how, that they came to heal, to guide, to transform. They feel there is something they must do, even if they don't yet know what it is. Many of the great teachers, healers, spiritual leaders first walked with this open wound. It was that wound that led them to silence, to prayer, to awakening. And it is the same wound that still today reminds them that their life doesn't completely belong to them, that they were called for something greater than themselves. If you felt that pressure in your chest without explanation, if you live with an anxiety that doesn't quiet, with a deep need to find your mission, you are not broken, you are not lost, you are marked, and you carry the 10th mark, the quietest, but also the most powerful one, because it is the heart itself calling you. And when God calls, He does so from the center of your being, where only the soul can hear. Now you know. These signs are not random. They are not coincidences. They are sacred codes the soul carries imprinted, sometimes from birth, sometimes after awakening. Not everyone understands them, Not everyone recognizes them because they are not made for everyone. They are made for those who have been called, for those who have been marked. Maybe while listening to each mark, you felt something stir inside you, a memory activate, an emotion arise. Maybe you saw yourself reflected in more than one sign. If so, you're not alone. You're not crazy. You're not lost. You're part of something bigger. You're part of a universal calling that God has set in motion, a calling that goes beyond the visible, beyond the rational, a calling that is born deep within, where the soul recognizes its origin. And if you recognize these marks in yourself, don't ignore it, because each sign is an invitation to remember who you are, to reconnect with your purpose, to awaken everything you carry within. This is your moment, the moment when you stop doubting and begin remembering. Share this message with someone who needs to remember it. Like, subscribe, and write in the comments, "I have been marked by God to awaken the world." Your voice is not just another voice. Your voice is a divine spark, and every spark that lights up illuminates others. Thank you for being here. Thank you for remembering. Thank you for awakening. This journey is just beginning.